Well, welcome to episode 11 in this ongoing series where we're building a Flow application using Supabase as the back end. In this particular application, we are going to add a filtered dialog box to our application. This is going to be something that's going to pop down from the top right hand side. It's going to allow us to filter down on archived goals within inside our application. So we're going to use filtering, of course, to make that happen. And the good thing about it as well, we're going to use a custom data type as well to keep track of the filtered option. And of course, you can use the custom data type in the future to add in more filtering if you wanted to. So we're going to set ourselves up quite nicely for that as well. And to top it all off, we're going to also delete goals in this particular episode as well. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So since recording this series, the Flow product has moved on a little bit. There's been new features that's been added to the actual product that we're now going to take advantage of in this particular episode. So this is the final application. We're going to make changes now to get us more closer to this application in this particular video. But what we've done is we've got now the up in the top right here, we've got a little filter option. If you click that, and then you're going to now see this custom dialog that now gets displayed. And this is going to provide a nice container for us to add in this filter that we're using in this particular application. But of course, if you wanted to enhance this application further, you could add in more filters if you wanted to. So we've got this show archive goals just by simply hitting the little check here and then clicking away. We can then see that filter then take place. If I then click up here, take the filter off and click here, and then of course the filter then takes effect as well. So we're now going to start putting that together. We're going to use custom data types as well to store the values of those filters, which you can then easily enhance in the future. So let's move over to the to Flow now, and let's do that right now. So here we are then back in Flow, and on the left hand side I've got a data types option selected, and you can see that we're in this blank screen with nothing in it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a data type that is going to effectively store the actual filtered status of our actual list view itself on the home page of all of the goals. Okay, so we've only got one which is just archived, so we're going to create a brand new data type called filters that's going to include archived as a value that we can update and we can control with inside our application. Now the great thing about data types is that they're very, very flexible. We could just, if we wanted to, put all of our filtered statuses all within inside the app state. But what's really nice about a custom data type is that we can kind of just have one called filters, and then contain all of our different filters within inside that, of course, and it just makes it easy and makes it more manageable and just generally is well organized within inside our Flow project. So let's do that now. On the up the top left here, we've got this little plus option here. We can add a new data type. And we're just going to call this one filters and hit create. And then within the actual schema, this is where we're now going to set out all of our filters. Okay, now, as I said, we've only got one in our project called archive. So we're just going to hit the add field, and we're going to call this one archived, and our data type is going to be Boolean. Okay, so it's just going to be a true or false. So if it's true, we're then going to display all of the archived goals within inside our application. If it's false, then we're not going to display any archived. Okay, so it's just one or the other. Just hit create, and then now we've got everything set for us. So that's basically all that we need to do with inside this data type section. Of course, if we wanted to put more filters in here, like completed or something like that, then we can add those in here as well. So on the left hand side now, let's move over to then the actual app state itself. So click on app state. Now this is a value that we created previously. Now we don't no longer need this because we've changed our application from when we first set the first episode out. Okay, so we're just going to delete this one out of the display. So just hit the delete, and that one's gone. And now we're going to add in this brand new state variable. So just choose add state variable, and within inside this particular state variable, we're just going to call this one filters, and then it's going to be type data type, which is just down the bottom there. Just choose data type, and the data type that we're going to choose is the filters, which is what we've just created. Okay, so just choose filters, and it's going to be persisted. Okay, so we're going to be storing this on the device at all times, not just on a one run time. We're going to be storing this continuously. So just choose the little persisted option and then hit create. So that's our filter setup. Of course, if I can just select this, you can see here that we just got archived in there. Now it's false by default. That's fine for us. That's all that we need to worry about. And now we can now move on and now start hooking that up with inside our application. So let's go and do that now. So any eagle-eyed spotters would have spotted that we've got this error that has now appeared up the top right. We can solve that really, really easily because our list view is currently set to use that show archived app state variable that we've just removed. Okay, so let's go down to the list view. Let's just move up to the backend query option up here. Just choose that. Edit the backend query. If I scroll down here, you can see here we've got this filters option, so just select that, and you can see here that the archived is currently saying it's equal to, well, it's unknown because we just removed it. Okay, so we need to make a little change here. So select that, and then on the little pen option here, just choose the edit because we're going to want to choose a brand new variable. So down, if you scroll down here, you can see we've got app state here, we've got filters. This is what we just added. So just choose filters, and then we've actually got the field here to be selected, which is now called archive. So just select that, hit confirm, and we'll know that everything is all perfect for us. So it's now going to use that particular value in order to apply the filtering to our list view for archive. So just hit confirm on that. So now we're right back to where we were. We've got no project errors up here. It's all gone back to a tick, which is really good. So now what we can do, we can now start implementing the functionality now to then display this new custom dialog, which is ultimately going to allow us to then choose this archive status. Now let's create this drop down component. So on the right hand side, let's click on components within inside the widget tree, hit add component, and of course up pops the create component sort of panel. Now the great thing about Flutterflow is it's got so many templates that you can actually use. Now we're going to create ours from scratch because this is a full walkthrough video, but of course if you wanted to, you can just do a search for like drop down here, and you can see lots of different options that the Flutterflow team have kind of designed, which is a great starting point if you're looking to kind of get yourself up and running really, really quickly. You could take one of these and just kind of customize it. Now what we're going to do, we're going to create something that looks a little bit like this. Actually, we're going to keep it really quite simple, but as I said, we're going to create that from scratch. So let's hit the create blank option here, and let's put a name in here of filter drop down, something like that. Hit create component, and then we're back into the empty view. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a container that's going to encapsulate all of the widgets that we need within inside our component. So let's just hit the little plus here. Let's choose the container option. And then with this container, what we're going to do is we're going to use one of our preset themes that we've got here. So just choose the theme style here and just choose container primary. And then that will then give it some of its characteristics that we need, obviously, for the look and feel, like the sort of drop down shadow and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to need to make some options, some changes just down here. So on the width, let's just choose the width of 300. That moves it just slightly across, and then the height is going to be. In fact, we're not going to keep a height in there for now. Actually, we're going to leave the containing widgets to set the height of the actual container. So we've got all the border radius set. That's all good for us, and we've got the color set. I think that's absolutely fine. I don't think we need to make any changes just at this moment, other than actually the actual padding. And you'll see why this is quite important actually, because when this actually gets displayed with inside the UI, we want this to kind of position itself off of the top and the right hand side of the actual application display. So within here, we're just going to delete that 20 out here. We're just going to put, say, 16 all the way around. Just lock that in, and then you'll see that that's now just come off of the edges, which is kind of what we need. So now let's start putting our widgets within inside the actual container itself now. So let's put a column in there for starters. There we go. And then within inside our column, we've got two rows. So we've got the row for the actual header of the actual component itself, and then we've got another row which is going to be for our archived options. Okay, so let's just choose inside the row here. Let's just select row here. Let's just put another row in here just for good measure. So we've got the two rows in here, and then within inside that first row, we're just going to put a text widget in there first. So just put text in there, and then on the right hand side there's also going to be an icon button which is going to allow us to then close down this particular sort of drop down list. So let's just choose the little plus here. Let's go in here and just do a search for icon button. That's good, and that'll just position it here, and we'll just go and now set the properties of those particular widgets. So on the left hand side, let's just choose the text option. Let's go up to one of our styles here. Let's just select that, and let's choose the actual theme style body. We want to keep this quite small within inside the actual drop down. We don't want it to be too large. And then just on the left hand side here, let's just choose say 16 just to bring that off the edges here. Now of course, a good thing about this the actual text option is we can actually expand that out. So let's just expand that out, and of course that will push our button out to the right hand side. And now we just need to set the alignment now with inside our text. So we just scroll down here, let's just choose the text align to be to the left hand side, and then let's now move over to our button. So with inside our button, just choose that, and let's now make some adjustments. So let's just maybe just push this off the right hand side. Let's just choose the 12 here just to push that off the side, and let's now choose our icon. So just press the little add here. Now we're looking for a close icon, so we just want to do just a little X there. That's fine. We want to start setting some of these other particular values here because it looks pretty ugly like that. So first thing to do is let's move over to the button size here. Let's just choose 36. Let's just reduce the size of that. The fill color we don't actually want, so let's just clear that fill color. That makes it look a little bit better. And then on the border color, let's just choose that. We don't actually need that, so let's just clear that color as well. And then on the icon size, just want to reduce this down to 20. That just makes it a little bit smaller for us. So I think that is looking pretty good there. I'm actually just going to make a slight change up here. I'm going to move up to the top here. I'm not so crazy about that particular padding. So let's just drop that down to say 5 there. I'm just going to bring 5 off of the top as well. That's a little bit nicer for us. So now with inside the actual title itself, let's just change this now to goal filters, just like that there. I'm just going to select the text option here, and I'm just going to remove that particular padding there, because we'll sort ourselves out with the row just below on padding, just pushing that down a little bit. So that's looking pretty good. So now let's move over to our row now just down here. Let's now start working on that. So let's now add a checkbox in. So just choose checkbox here, just select that. And then the next one we're going to add in then is just another text field there. So just choose that there. So we just got our plain text, and we can now format that in just a moment. So let's work on our checkbox first, because that looks pretty ugly with inside the UI as well. So just choose the checkbox. On the right hand side here, let's now make some adjustments here. So secondary text is fine. The primary checked color, let's just change that to our secondary color. Okay, so you can see now it's got that sort of color that's just behind there, which is very similar to the other sort of buttons that we've actually got with inside the UI. And with the actual checked info color, let's just choose the primary option here, the primary button text. Just choose that, and we've now got that nice kind of white tick with inside our checkbox. We also need to just do some adjustments here on the padding. So let's just choose 12 here. Let's push that off. And on the right hand side, let's just choose 12 there. That just pushes our text slightly over. So we'll come back and we'll adjust the actual the binding of the checkbox value to the actual application state very shortly. But let's just finish with our styling here. Now with inside here, we just want to make a slight change on the theme style here. We're just going to choose a text style body as well. We're just going to remove the padding that's been introduced from the actual theme style that we got here. So we've got a kind of nice subtle sort of grey text, and let's just change this now to show archived goals, just like that. So that's looking pretty good, and we can just adjust the size of this as well. We don't quite need it that large there. Just give us a little bit more look to our panel itself. So finally then, on the actual row, let's just choose that. Let's just give this some padding from the top here. Let's just choose 16, and that just pops it down a little bit. So just adjust that down a little bit. There we go. So that's all looking pretty good for us. Let's now focus our attention on binding that checkbox now to the actual application state that we've actually created to track the changes. So now on the actual widget tree, let's just choose the actual checkbox now. So we're now going to set that to be the initial value. And incidentally, just so you got this as a preview, you can just kind of see the difference there between the actual checkbox value and what it looks like with inside the UI. So this is fine. We're just not going to worry too much about that for now. We can keep that on, but let's just choose this particular option here, and let's choose the checkbox initial value. And that's done really easy, because all we've got to do is we just got to hook onto our app state there to actually pull that value in. So just choose app state here, and then move down to filters, and then we're going to go down to select filter, and we're just going to simply choose archived and hit confirmed. Now we know that as soon as this now then gets displayed with inside the UI, it's going to look for that value. value. If it's true, it's going to mark it as checked. If it's false, it's going to be unchecked. So that's going to set the initial value. Now, of course, setting it is one thing, but we're actually going to want to now hook on to the fact of actually changing it. So as soon as we make those changes, we're then going to want to persist that value within inside the actual application state. And then once it's persisted, then of course the list view on the home page will then refresh and then show them the correct results from the database. So we can do that really easily again, and that's this moving now up to the actions. So with the actual checkbox selected, move up to this option up here for actions, open up the action flow editor, and this is where all of the magic will happen. So with inside here, we've got two events that we're looking for here. We've got the on-toggled on and on-toggled off. Now actually the actions within inside each of these are going to be exactly the same, except one is going to set the state to be then true, and one of them is going to set it to be false. So we can create it in one and then we can copy it to the other. So let's now create it on the on-toggle on. So as soon as somebody hits a checkbox, actually hits the tick, we can then display we can then set the value, sorry. So on the add action, just choose add action. So all we need to do here is then go to the update app state. So just choose update app state here, and let's move up to where it says set fields. Just choose set fields, and we are going to want to choose the filters here. And then within inside the filters itself, we're then going to want to now move to the update type. So just going to choose that, and we're going to choose update fields. Okay, so just choose update fields, and this is where we now need to set the field value. So just choose add field. We're going to choose archive. That's the only one that we've got on here. Just choose archived, just choose it again, and then we're going to want to set that value. So we're going to set the actual value to, on this state, it's going to be true. So we just need to go to the set the value, and the quickest way to do this, if you scroll right down to the bottom here, you've got this option called constants. Just choose constants. Just scroll down again and you'll see that we've got one in here called true, false, or null. We're just going to want to choose the true option. So just hit the done there, and then that's all that we need to do. Now we're going to now copy this now and say copy action, move over to on toggled off, hit the little paste action option up here and choose paste. We're going to go back into this. We're going to go back into this section here. We're going to go back into this section here, and where it says archive, just choose that. And now we're going to select this, and then we're going to just edit the actual constant here. We're going to scroll down to the options we've got here for constants, and then select the false option and then hit confirm. It's as simple and as easy as that, and that's all that we need to do with inside this particular actual filter option. So just hit close, and we're right back to where we were. Now what we need to do now is we just need to now dismiss this actual the actual drop down as well. So just choose the icon button up here. Let's go up to the actions, hit the add action here, and we can just select this one here called close dialog drawer. There we go. So that's all that we need to do. And of course, when we actually click away from this drop down that gets displayed within the UI, then the drop down will disappear itself as well. So let's add a little bit of animation also into this drop down, just to give it a little bit more UI attraction. Okay, so if you remember back on the actual final application, as soon as I hit the little option here, you can see here that the actual panel just sort of slides down there and fades in into the actual UI. So let's now add those animations into our application. So with the container selected here, just on the left hand side, we're going to move over to the animations option here, choose add animation. So this is going to be an on-page load animation. So choose add animation. So we're going to want to do a fade and we're going to want to do a slide. So let's focus on the slide first. Let's just choose slide. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to apply the same duration for both the animations that we're going to put here. So we're just going to toggle this on, and the animation is going to be 300 milliseconds. That's just enough there to give that kind of nice smooth sort of entrance into the UI. You could do it slightly quicker than that if you wanted 200 milliseconds. Have a little play and see what you like there, but 300 is how we're going to set it here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on the slide. So of course it's not going to be horizontally sliding from either left or right. We're going to bring this down from the top. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to set the initial position to be -20. Okay, so we're just going to bring this -20 from the top, and you'll see that just play. If I hit the little preview here, you can just see it drop down there, which is just what we're looking for. And then of course now we're going to choose the add animation for the fade as well. So let's just choose fade, and we're going to keep this as 0 initially, and then out to 1. So we're going to go completely invisible to then fully visual onto the screen. Okay, so we just now move up to the top here. Let's just preview, and we've kind of got that look. And that's it. That's as simple as that as what we need to do onto the actual drop down. So I think we're pretty well much complete now on this drop down. So let's now move back into the main home page, and let's get this drop down displayed within inside the UI. So here we are then back on the home page. Let's invoke that custom dialog box to open up, and we're going to select the icon button here, the filter icon button, go to the action flow editor, hit the open, and then we're going to make sure that we've got on tap as the event that we've got to trigger the dialog box. Hit the add action option here, and then on the right hand side we want to do a search for alert. So just do a little search for alert there, and we're going to say custom dialog. Okay, so just choose a custom dialog, and the component we're going to need to select is going to be the component that we just created called filter drop down. Just select that, and we're going to want to set some parameters in here as well. So we want to make sure we constrain the size of the custom dialog box, and of course if you added more filtering options in here you can then adjust the height and the width as you need to, but we're just going to put 260 in the width, and in the height we're going to keep it just as 150. Might be some little subtle adjustments we need to make, but that's what I'm going with at the moment, 150. And just scrolling down here, we've got some other options that we need to select as well, and that is align with the current widget. We're going to want to position the custom dialog box to appear around where the actual button is actually within inside the UI that we selected. So by saying align with current widget, that will allow us to do that. We're also going to want to choose this option here about avoiding the actual overflow itself as well. This is just to prevent the actual widget from sort of disappearing off of the screen or in an area which we do not want it to clash with anything else or anything like that. So just make sure that you got avoid overflow selected as well. So that's everything that we need to have said on that one there. I think we are looking in good shape. I think we can just now move on now. There's one thing that we also need to do, and just to point out here that's quite important, is that this is going to be the alert dialog box is going to display. This action flow will pause at that particular point. Once the dialog box is then dismissed, we're then going to want to refresh the database, the actual list view itself on the actual screen that this has been invoked from. So we can do that by just hitting the little plus here, say add action, and then we can say refresh database request. And of course we're going to need to choose the list view on the home page, and that will allow us to do that there. So this is really, really important because depending on how you build your applications, by blocking the execution of this action flow at that particular point, that's where the non-blocking option remains to be turned off. If I was to actually turn that on, it means that what will happen is as soon as the actual dialog box then gets displayed, the execution of the events will carry on after it as well. So we want to make sure that we keep that one turned off, but of course it depends on how you want to use this in the future for any of your own applications. That's what the non-blocking option will allow you to do. So that's everything that we need to do there. So I think we can now fire this up now in the test mode, and let's see what happens. So here we are then in test mode. Let's hit the little filter option up here. Brilliant, our dialog displays quite nicely. Hit the show archived goals. I'm hoping that we'll click that away. We should see there it is. Brilliant, we're seeing the archive goal. That's exactly what we want. If I just hold this down here, of course, and just toggle the archives to be off there, hit update goal, and it should disappear, which is done. Excellent. I'll just click on the little filter here, take the little tick box off, close that down, and then there it is. So everything is looking like it's working perfectly for us. So we're now ready to move on to the next bit. So one final thing I want to do in this episode is add in the ability to actually delete a goal as well, and that can be done really easily by us updating the component that allows us to update a goal. So just choose update goal component on the left hand side, and we want to put our little delete button just to the right hand side of this sort of row here. So we just need to navigate down to the row, so just choose the row that's just there, and we're just going to add another option in here. So just click the add a child there, and we're going to choose an icon button here. Choose icon button, and we're going to want to style this icon button up, so just choose the theme style unset, choose the icon button standard, and we've now got that icon button displayed for us. So we just need to choose the actual icon button itself, which is selected, and we're just now going to add the action in to now perform the deletion. So let's choose the action up here, click open there, And let's now add the action that we need in. So just choose add action. We are going to just do a search for Supabase here, and we're going to want to choose the delete row option, choose delete row, and the table that we're going to be adjusting will be the goals themselves. And we're going to want to match on a particular ID. Okay, so this is the ID that we have available to us at this particular time within inside the actual bottom bar itself. So just choose the add filter. We're going to go to field name and we're going to choose ID. We're going to go to relation, and of course it's going to be equal to, and then we're going to choose the value itself. And you can remember here, this is the component parameter. This is what's being passed in via to the actual bottom bar. Choose the goal, and the Supabase row field is going to be ID. So matching ID for ID, and that's all that we need to hit confirm, and that's all we need to do with the Supabase call. So one final thing we need to do is just close the actual bottom bar itself. So just choose the close dialog drawer, just hit that, and that's everything sorted for us. So let's now quickly just check this to see if the goal gets correctly deleted from our list. So let's now select the actual goal itself. To hold it down there, we've got the little button that's appeared here. If I just hit the little delete here, magically it's disappeared. So everything is running perfectly for us. We've got delete in there as well. So yeah, let's now move on. So there we go, that is a wrap for this particular episode. I hope you enjoyed the progress that you are making so far. Please do like the video, and please do subscribe to the channel. If you love these types of walkthrough videos, there's so much more on my channel, and there's so much more coming in the future as well. So until the next one, we'll see you soon.